Hi, I'm Robert. I come to you as an automobile enthusiast that has maintained, serviced, and repaired my own vehicles in excess of 30 years. I currently drive a car with over 230,000 miles on it, and I once had a car that had over 400,000 miles on it and ran very well. While you're watching the video, please watch a step or two ahead. Sometimes the current step is better explained in the next step or two. Also, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you benefit from the information. Okay, this 2007 Nissan Maxima has a power steering leak. It's the high pressure hose, which is normally the first thing that leaks on these things. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the high pressure power steering hose on it. Okay, here are the tools I use to change this high pressure hose. I use a screwdriver to help get a hose clip loose. I use a 1/4 inch with a 10 millimeter and a 12 millimeter. I got a couple of 3/8 ratchets, two 10 millimeter, a shallow and a deep, which I may not have needed. I got the 24 millimeter and the 1/2 inch adapter for 3/4. Then I got several extensions that I use to reach that bolt, that 24 millimeter bolt for the pressure hose. I use a 14 millimeter box end to get the original hose off the steering rack, and a 16 millimeter to put the new one on. Use these long needle nose pliers to reach a couple things, and then I used those two adjustable jaws to get that high pressure switch off and on to the new hose. So those are the tools I used. I'm going to put it up on ramp so I can get access to the bottom of the hose. So the first thing I'm going to work on is getting that clamp loose from the top of that hydraulic line. Take this line off here and see if I can reach that clamp with. Okay, when I climb on top of the motor, I can get a better view of this upper clamp on this hydraulic hose, and there's a bolt on the manifold, on the back of the manifold, that holds that bracket in place. I may pull that bolt and get that loose that way and just drag the whole bracket out with the clamp on it. Okay, I pulled that bracket bolt loose. It's a 10 millimeter, and I pulled this vacuum tube loose to give me a little more room with my hand in there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is unplug this pressure switch. Okay, I unplugged this pressure switch, but I'm not going to take it out. I'm going to go ahead and try to pull it down out of there with the pressure switch still connected, but I'm going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here from the lower elbow. Okay, from right here, I put a 24 millimeter socket on that bolt and several extensions, broke that loose, and got a lot of leaking hydraulic fluid out, put a pan under it to keep. Over on this side, I put a 14 millimeter box end wrench on it and broke that loose. So that's loose. Okay, the hose comes down and hits that bracket right there with a rubber grommet on there. So I'm going to try to get that bolt loose out of that bracket and see if that'll release the hose. I'm going to try with a 10 millimeter first. Okay, I broke that bolt loose from the bottom of that bracket from down here and had to go up top to get it the rest of the way out. So I think I got everything loose that I need to have loose. So I'm going to go over there to that side, pull that bolt all the way out. After I get that bolt all the way out, I'm going to come over to here and unscrew this the rest of the way and try to maneuver that line out of there. Okay, I can't get the line out because it's hung up on that bracket right there. So I'm going to go ahead and take those two bolts out of that bracket there, or at least take the bracket loose. I'm going to go ahead and unclip that line from the bracket so that I could hopefully get that bracket out. I got those two screws loose and get this line pulled out. Okay, I went on ahead and pulled the hose up through this way to get it out. I made sure the bottom was unhooked, and I The side with the metal curved tip on it, I pulled that side out first, and then I pulled the side with the pressure switch on it out. So when I maneuvered it out, I drug this hose up, pulled that out in first, and then I came and pulled this side out second. Once I got the hose out, I took the pressure switch off of here and put it on the new hose. There was a seals in the new hose, but they didn't fit that fitting on the pressure switch, so I used the old seal on the pressure switch. I took the bracket off of here. The rubber grommet that was on here fell off under the car, and then I put a rubber gasket from the new hose kit on the tip of that hose right there. Going back in with the new hose, I lowered it down through the top and went down in the bottom and started to thread it through down the bottom. Okay, going back in, the first thing I made sure was the part with the long metal line was hooked around that bracket and routed over toward the driver's side. Then I came in here on the passenger side and put a new washer on the nut, put the nut through the line, a new washer on the other side of the line, and put that bolt in hand tight. Then I came back over to the driver's side and threaded this hard line and started it into the steering rack with my fingers. So I put it in and I made that finger tight. Then I made sure this bracket was in place and the ring of the bracket was on the ground with me. My hand is small enough to reach through here and reach over to this bracket with a 12 millimeter and put this bracket back on right here. It has a guide on the back of the manifold. Make sure that I put it in finger tight, then I tightened it down. I had this vacuum hose loose, so I went on ahead and reconnected it. Then I came down here and tightened this up with the 20 millimeter, 24 millimeter ratchet with the extensions on it. And then to make sure it was real tight, I put the ratchet directly on the socket. Made sure it was tight. Once I knew that was tight, I went on ahead and plugged in my pressure sensor. Came up on the driver's side, reached my hand down past this tube here, and I was able to reach the connection and tighten that up. The nut that went back on it was a 16 millimeter instead of the 14 that took it off. Then I came down here, put this rubber grommet around the line, and put the bracket around there. I figured out that I could put my hand through the passenger side control arm all the way up to my elbow and reach that nut right there and put that nut in finger tight. Then after I got that finger tight, I went on ahead and clipped this clip back in that line, and then I made sure the rubber bushing was slid up on the line, and I went on ahead and tightened that bolt. After I got that bolt tight, I could still reach those other two bolts with my hand up through the right control arm. I tightened down those two bolts. Now I got everything back together. I'm going to go ahead and fill up the reservoir with power steering fluid and leak check it. Okay, before you leak check it, you got to make sure you wipe down your two connections real good. Your one that plugs in the rack, and then the one on the other side where the pressure switch is. Make sure you wipe those down till they're dry so that when you leak check it, you do a good job at it. Okay, this side of the fitting is nice and dry after a several minute drive. Okay, and the fitting on this side is nice and dry. So no leaks, we're good to go. If you feel that this information was beneficial, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can also subscribe to my channel so that you can get notification of future videos that I post. Visit my channel. I have all types of do-it-yourself videos there. You can leave questions here and I'll try to respond to them as quick as possible. You can also visit my website at robertspinner.com. Thanks again for watching.